loses the place back, and there's a spinner in the middle.
The Cherry, would you like through Woodcourt? Swift, if he can make the break, he's got to do it now.
Next red car as well is another real Mini exponent, Ian Curley. If you're not a Mini racing fan, and Solis goes off onto the grass and loses the place back, and there's a spinner in the middle. Endaf Owens, keep your foot in, keep your foot in, keep your foot in. That is the only rule of Mini racing. Keep the throttle applied and let the car pull itself out of trouble, and he just survives that one. Because my car just basically lived in a garage and never got any attention. There's Bill Solis, grass tracking. The grey car with a little, and then right in front, a big moment there for Endaf Owens.
He makes his way up from the back of the grid for a last-minute entry. He's having a rather good St Mary's Trophy
Part 1. Also having a rather good St Mary's Trophy Part 1 is Frank Stifler, who still has about 0.4 of a second as an advantage in the lead from Jake Hill's Plymouth Barracuda. Then comes Andrew Jordan in third, but this battle is really heating up. First Buncombe gets displaced, then Brundle is up next as the Ford Galaxy is trying to make its way through. That is Gordon Shedden, but then in the corners Buncombe could just get back through. Brundle holding on to 8th, Buncombe 9th, Gordon Shedden 10th as the battle for the lead gets even tighter.
Flag goes down, away go the Minis, good start, and as ever from the second row, good start from Nick Swift, but actually from pole, Larry Moore making a very good start. Number 64, that is Larry, he's on the inside, but round the outside goes Nick Swift in the blue and white Mini, and he may be brave enough to go right round the outside here. Look how close the Minis are. I love the way they wobble around through a fast corner like that, and it is Nick who's taken the lead.
It is, and look, they're almost blocking the faster, more powerful engines behind. And I said it to you, Ben, off air, that we were so excited, weren't we, to see these Minis lining up on the front. It's getting ever so close, though, further on behind.
Yeah, absolutely good. The Camaros are already forcing their way through. I think that James Thorpe is one of those. Jack Tetley certainly has made a good start, but I think James Thorpe's made an even better one. So Nick Swift is in the advance. Oh, there's a contact between the Mini and a Rover, and that's our poleman, Larry. Whoa! They make hit to contact again. My goodness, I'm amazed they didn't get collected and T-boned by a bunch more cars there. That's unfortunate on this opening lap. Nick Swift is still leading, but now look, there is James Thorpe. As I thought, he started 13th and he's already in second.
He stormed through, didn't he? Really did, making sure that he was sliding his way through the gaps. I would expect that we will probably see a safety car. No flags out at the moment.
Front battle for the lead.
Absolutely, it was 0.6 of a second almost to the moment. It came down to 0.229 of a second. It's about that at this moment. So 9 laps on the board, 9.5 laps on the board. Jim Morris still leading, but Nick Swift smiling as he attacks. He's pushing super hard. Here comes the kink on the 11th straight. Yes, I know that's an anomaly, but it's all the same. But for Nick Swift and the Patrick Motorsport Mini, he just needs to try and get. He doesn't have the grunt, but he's got the handling. And he's got the attack. That's Nick Swift encapsulated.
The Mini certainly seems maybe a little bit more nimble, perhaps, than the VW Golf, but there really is not too much in it. He's going to try and have to force Morris in the Golf into a mistake. Through the chicane we go, but at the moment, has Morris run a little bit deep into there? Maybe, but right now, Swift all over the back of him as they come onto the main straight to start another lap. 4.5 minutes remaining. He is oh so close. Mere thousandths of a second between them. Morris holds on into turn 1 for now.
Last time around it was 0.229 of a second. This time around it was 51 thousandths of a second. But from Jim Morris leading the race to the driver trying to take the paint off the back of his car. That's Nick Swift attacking super hard as only he knows how. The number 60 Mini, such an overtaker, an entertainer here over the years. But he's got his focus now. But he's got a little something on his shoulder. The little angel going, remember there's a race tomorrow.
These two have rather got away from Shepherd in the Scirocco, who has in turn got in front of Divine after running out wide and losing out to the 63 car, the Ford Escort. So Scirocco, a little bit of recovery, but still about 11.5 seconds back from this battle at the front. We now look still at the battle for 7th. It rages on, and this Mini cannot find a way through on this Ford, and there's more still coming into the fray as well. The two data post cars really fighting tooth and nail. 3.5 minutes left on the clock.
Well, Peter Smith has driven really well on that RS2000 because, excuse me, the excitement got the better of me there. But the data post cars behind are their own worst enemies. They both want to be predominant. Rupert Deeth in the 69 Mini attacking the driver that came up from the back of the field, Simon Goodliff, and as they fight, it just gives a little bit of a breathing space to Pete Smith. But through the second part of St Mary's, they catch right onto his tail. Right, 51 thousandths per second was the gap between first and second. It's advantage this time, surely, to Jim Morris. Yes, he's gained 0.04 of a second. Nearly a tenth of a second clear. It's down to that little.
These two Gordon Spice Trophy races that we've been treated to here on the Saturday of the 80th Goodwood members meeting have been absolutely spectacular. And the brilliant thing is we get another dose tomorrow where we combine the big guns with the smaller engines, touring cars. So we're really looking forward to that. But for now, we've still got this one to figure out. Just looking at the peripheries of the top 15 as well, it's David Green in the Corolla who now finds himself in 15th. He's about 2.5 seconds back from 14th place. So War safe for now, but 2.5 minutes, still a lot could be done. The Mazda of Taylor has made its way up into 12th, but kind of holding firm. He's stuck in that little midfield gaggle at the moment, so we'll see how much more progress that Mazda can make. But from the back, certainly proving very well indeed. The battle at front rages on.
Rages on, and what they're going to catch is 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. I saw the Opel Commodore in there. They will catch it. What's left on the clock? 2 minutes. They've got this lap that follows and one beyond. They will catch that quartet of cars. It's how they get through. Will Jim Morris, leading the way in the Golf, find a line that cannot be followed by Nick Swift in the Mini? But Swift will be looking at this thing going, it could give, but it could take away, and he's super close. They're going to get very busy when they get down to Madgwick. The older Toyota Celica of Hughes of Beaconsfield, that will get out of the way. They will go hard to drivers left and hopefully those in front, the Alpilati Alpha. So yes, we may have time just to squeak in 2 more laps by the skin of their teeth. And for Jim Morris, he must be going, I should have been a second slower there, then we wouldn't.
Quite possibly, but I have to say, they've managed that traffic fairly well. Still got a couple of cars in front of them. That's the Alfa Romeo in front of them as Morris tries to find a way through. Goes to the inside, but can Swift follow him through, or is he going to get stuck? Can they both make it through? Yes, they do. Both squeeze past the number 14 Alfa Romeo GTV. So Paul Clayson doing some good driving there, but they've still got another one to go. I think it's the 38 potentially. Is that a Triumph Dolomite in front of them?
Yeah, the Morley
branded one. Triple X 38 it is. Still in front, so is this Swift's chance? He gets up alongside Morris. Can he find a way through? Is he using the traffic to his advantage to try and find a way through on the Golf? It's Golf versus Mini, but the Golf wins out once again. Well done, Morris, holds on.
Well, Morris was far more compromised than Nick Swift, but it was a case of just forcing his nose up the inside into the first part of Lavant, but that compromised him slightly for the second part of Lavant, and now we've got Nick Swift coming back at him, not quite close enough there to get the slipstream, so somehow, just somehow, Jim Morris has hung on. 22 seconds remaining on the clock. This is the final lap. They didn't quite squeak through fast enough to get round one more time, or did they? Through Woodcote they go. It's the Golf in front of the Mini. Time surely has run out for Nick Swift.
The traffic may well have slowed them down. 5 seconds, they make their way through the chicane. Will this be the final lap? But Morris has gone wide. Is that going to allow Swift to go through? He's on the grass. Is Swift going to nick this on the line? Is that on the line, or is that the checkered flag?
No, I didn't see the checkered flag. I think we're going on one more time. So wipe that smile off your face, Nick Swift, and keep the pedal to the floor. Oh, that's what you do anyhow. Jim Morris, I thought he was going to clip the end of the pit wall. He was so wide on the grass where the wall comes out just before pit in. So he's got to refocus and see what he can do. What lies up ahead, that could be the key to how they get to the end of this race.
That could have thrown it all away. I think the clock timed down to 0 just as they crossed the line. So we do indeed have this additional lap lap still before we get to the checkered, but for Nick Swift it's working out at the moment. But can he keep that Golf behind him, who has led the majority of this race?
And what's happening next? Well, Laven's corner's happening next, and there's a waved yellow flag I noticed at the side of the circuit there. I can see some tar marks, someone's put it off down there. Might have been in the last lap or so, but for now that's great news for Nick Swift. That defends his lead. He's only got 3 more corners to go.
I think there's a problem for the 36 Alfa Romeo. It's falling down the field. I'm not sure if it's a transponder, but you say there's a yellow flag. That might well be the reason. It's falling all the way down to 15th at the moment, so trouble there for the Alfa Romeo. But here comes the Golf, straight line speed through on the Mini. That was power. Back into the lead. Can he hold it? He made the mistake coming through the final chicane. He could well do it again. It'll be playing on his mind. He's got to try and keep it clean coming into the chicane. This is where he lost it all, or he could have lost it all. Morris is right up into the lead again. Can he find a way through? It's going to be over the line side by side, but I think the Golf just nicks it ahead of the Mini. Morris wins ahead of Swift, but what a battle.
Well, they're both applauding each other.
So really important then for Furiani to try and get as high up as he can in the field after Frank Stifler's a brilliant drive yesterday in that Alfa Romeo. Little bit of traffic then to deal with those. We head back up front for the Jaguar and the 2 Minis that chase down and battle over third at the moment. The gap out in front between the Galaxy of Bill Shepherd and Max Chilton's Cortina, around about 3.5 seconds for the time being. Last lap around, it was very much in the favour of Bill Shepherd, who might have just had a lap or so where he was taking it a little bit steady, that has absolutely wiped the floor last lap around on Chilton. We'll see if Chilton can do anything and try and close that gap, but it will be difficult knowing the might of the wonderful Galaxies. There he is. Those are your 2 leaders. First comes Shepherd in the Galaxy, then comes Chilton in the Cortina, and then comes this Chris Ward in the Jaguar Mark II, Nick Swift in the Morris Mini Cooper, and then Ben Colburn, who didn't think he'd even be racing in this a couple of days ago, tucked in just behind a 5th at the moment in the orange Mini Cooper S. And you know what? The longer they battle, including the 2 Minis battling it out, Gregor Fiskin not too far away behind in the other Galaxy 500 on his own, down in 6th. He's got a chasing Alfa Romeo Furiani behind, so it's just something to bear in mind for this battle over third. They could be joined in another 6 or so seconds by the likes of Fiskin's Galaxy behind.
Yeah, it could be. I think Chris Ward has spent more time going sideways trying to dice the Jag Mark II around the track. Nick Swift's going to have a look, and Ben Colburn's almost willing him along, and he's got
Teamwork.
back in front. Teamwork from the little Minis. However, the Jag with that XK engine puts his foot down and off it goes. Chris Ward was he had stuck his hand out the window there. I don't know if he was getting rid of something in the cockpit, but Nick Swift will have to try once again. A puff of smoke coming from the wheel of the 55 as it locks. It's all going into Woodcourt corner. So you see Max Chilton has escaped. Nick Swift's having a look. No, look at the wheel work.
This tremendous, and Lotterer's just on this lap got in front, so that is Andre Lotterer in the pale blue Mini, and then behind him now is Alex Brundle in the Mini that he's sharing with Bill Solis this weekend. That's Bill's car, and Alex had been in front, but now he's got to find a bit more pace again to try and get back ahead of Andre Lotterer.
Well, you've got to say, Ben, that maybe getting into these cars, having practiced in other cars today, this is his first go back in the Mini. The configuration, the change, where you've got to make your mind up where you're going to be and what you're going to do, he's completely different. He's got that sorted out perfectly.
Down the inside
to find that amount of pace.
No, that was impressive, wasn't it?
Indeed.
Got past Andre Lotterer, and they're being attacked by David Brabham behind in the Mark II Jaguar. So you've got, again, you know, whatever driver we mention, they're all pretty much star drivers in this race. Well, they are all star drivers. They won't be in it otherwise. And it's impressive to see Alex Brundle, Andre Lotterer, and not far behind David Brabham in a very different kind of car, the Jaguar Mark II. That when British Saloon Car Championship was the battle in the 1960s, often these cars will be fighting. Here comes Lotterer.
It's going to be side by side as Lotterer. We've seen him out earlier on today practicing, and he's looked pretty hectic in, what was it? I think he was running Cobra, wasn't he, in the, earlier on, and he looked absolutely outstanding in that. So through has gone the 8 again. So Lotterer in front of Brundle. Brundle's going to have to work hard again as we come through the chicane onto the front straight. Dumas has gone through with a 4.2 second lead over Stifler now, who has a nearly 1 second lead over the third place man Jordan. Then it's Breen, another 0.9 back in fourth place. Johnson is still fifth.
So this is the overtake that Andre Lotterer made on Alex Brundle.
Good move.
Yeah, he got down the inside, and Brundle just had to give him the space, basically, and that was a great move by Andre Lotterer. He is such an experienced racer. He's been racing Formula E, and he's actually got a new deal for a Formula E full season next year as well.
Oh, look at this. Brundle again working his way up to the inside. He's going to look again at that same place. Yep. Is he going to be able to get under him? Yes, he is going to be able to get under him. Will he be able to stay there? I doubt it.
But where do you want to be in front? You want to be in front across the line. Oh dear,
Well, you
dear.
don't want to be doing that, that's for sure. Pushing the 127
Marcel
over.
Fassler, that is. Marcel Fassler, another of the Alphas. So we've still got the Alpha up in second place at the moment, but Marcel trying to push his car out of the way. He's doing a sensible thing, trying to get it off track so that it doesn't hold everybody up. We've still got 14.5 minutes to go in this race as we are watching the battle between the two top minis. Alex Brundle versus Andre Lotterer. Behind them, you've got David Brabham. Stoffel van Dorn is not far behind them as well. We can't quite see him in the picture. He's in a Ford Lotus Cortina. But Alex Brundle this time is not passed by Lotterer in the same position.
He's looking for a different ploy, perhaps. He's shown his hand too many times already. 1 minute 30.195, fastest lap so far. We're looking at the minis through the chicane. I just love that shot. It gives you a real impression of what everybody's doing out on track. The overhead is a great shot to give you a context of what's going on track.
Down towards the challenging Magic, virtually flat out in a car like this, but it is drifting all the way through. You can see the work going on the steering, how it drifts out to the edge, comes back in a little bit, back out to the grass on the outside. No change there. Has he got the run? We've seen this is a good place to get the run, and he has. This is where Alex was passing him. Now Andre Lotterer trying to get back past Alex Brundle.
Well, it's got to be flat through Fordham, hasn't it? So I would imagine Slipstream comes into it a little bit with these minis just through there, because they are absolutely on the floor as far as the throttle's concerned. There's a Jaguar having a little sniff here at the moment as well. This, I think we have the Mark II getting involved in this any minute, and that's going to be a bun fight.
Yeah, David Bradham's loving this. He's thinking, come on, I can get into this as well. It's just not quite working for him yet. As Andre Lotterer and Alex Brundle fight for their positions. Alex, son of Martin Brundle, himself, 2016.
And out front is Andy Jordan. Romain Dumas in second place. Matt Neal in third. Chris Goodwin in fourth. That's the three cars you've got there. And here comes Neal. He's got steaming up the inside of Romain Dumas. If this was in LMP1 cars, I would give the nod to Romain Dumas, but it's not. So I'm giving the nod to Matt Neal. He gets through. Right behind is not Chris
No, that's
Goodwin.
not Goodwin. He's just a bit further back, but the car behind is a lap down. It's Andre
It is.
Lotterer at the wheel.
Oh,
it's car
no
number
wonder
58.
he's stuffing up Romain Dumas.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
always die hard.
There's no friends among teammates, is there? This is for bragging rights. I might have been a lap behind, but I was quicker than you. It was my co-driver who did the dirty on me. But again, Romain Dumas straight by Matt Neal on the straights. There's nothing wrong with the engine in 104, that's for sure. Romain has managed to get a good exit from the chicane, back up to second place. And Andre Lotterer now, and how seldom do you hear this said nowadays, except in every Formula E race, is going to be the fly in the ointment here, a lap back.
Jim Morris at the wheel, experienced driver, and now sets off to try to reduce the margin to the likes of Simon Goodliffe and indeed Nick Swift.
Well, Nick's going out of St Mary's. Oh, the golf guest one way, because he suddenly found himself catching the yellow Dolomite, and behind both of them, Nick Swift is on the outside. He's left-hand wheels right on the painted white line at the edge of the circuit, kicking up the puddles that's sitting on top of that. And we all know what happens with white lines with rain on top of them, particularly after it's been dry for some while. Very greasy, but Nick seems to have a fourth dimension he can head to in terms of car control when it's wet. He's got to pick his way through the traffic. He still has the fastest mark by, as you said, let's call it 3 seconds, 2.97 seconds. But Steve Jones is setting some pretty good times. He's fourth fastest. Look at, he's in another of the minis, 12.75. It's car number 69. At the moment, the smaller the better seems to be the answer.
Indeed so. They're number 56 Vauxhall, which is Tom Alexander's Brock Marshall Frenza goes down through the approach to Woodcote. Now Nick Swift bats aside the traffic, comes up towards the chicane. His target time that he's already set is a 1:48. He should, I would have thought, go quicker again as he comes up towards the timing line. But remember, the line is at the end of the pit straight, and he's actually going to go fractionally slower, isn't he? So a 1:49.1. That was the traffic, I think, coming out of Woodcote.
Totally, really compromised him, and he was already slightly compromised through St Mary's, so there is time aplenty to come his way. But we have Simon Goodliffe has improved his second position time.
Because now Rupert Death is under huge attack from Simon Goodliffe as they come up towards the line. So the ex-Tim Goss Mini, Tim still very much around, the instructor at the Porsche driving centre at Silverstone these days, keeping Simon Goodliffe behind him. Simon tees himself up to look to the inside line, but can't find a way by. Now, by the way, Jim Morris is leading by 7 seconds. He's absolutely disappeared up the road. Death is second, Goodliffe third. Somebody else is getting on with the programme. Kerry Michael is up into fourth place. Dave Devine is fifth. Sixth now is Matt Green. Seventh is Jason Minshaw. The heroics continue. Tom Shepherd eighth after that spin. And Simon Goodliffe thinks about the inside line there, but Rupert Death sticks out his elbows.
Yeah, Rupert Death going defensive from the way into Fordwater, a couple of corners back. You can see how much grip's out there. The right-hand rear wheel picking up as they come in through the entry to St Mary's. Now this is the start of the defence. He's taken a tighter line on the way into turn 1 at Matchwick. You're going to see he connects with that first apex, but now starts to run wide. This triggers the opportunity. This triggers the start of the attack from behind because he loses momentum onto the straight, but he's gathered it up, and now he's got to probably go defensive again. on the way into Woodcote.
Now the Fiesta might have just a little bit more grunt. Looks much bigger, higher, taller car, doesn't it? Sort of dwarfing the Mini as Simon Goodliff tries to go to the outside line, coming into Woodcote. He's got to try and get the undercut for the chicane. This, remember, it's for second place as they get to the braking area, but Rupert Deep's already moved across and covered the line. Brakes as late as he dares. We're into the second half of the race as they come up towards the line now. Rupert Deep is doing a great job hanging on to the place.
Absolutely fantastic. That was a masterclass of defensive driving from Deep. He's not got the horsepower, but he does have track position, and he positioned the car beautifully, not so tight a defensive line that it would compromise his own corner and compromise his exit, but just tight enough to close the door.
But we're not done yet, are we? 8.5 more minutes of the race to go. And Simon Goodliff again thinks about the outside line approaching St Mary's. A little bit damp off line there as well. Now, which way do you go? Right here and get the outside line for St Mary's itself. Coming into the first part, actually slots back in behind, doesn't he? Just waiting for the opportune moment. And while these two are squabbling, of course, they're dropping further away from the race leader, Jim Morris, who is now 8 seconds to the good. But Rupert Deep, you take your hat off to him. I mean, the Deep family know their way around minis of all manner, but this is a really good drive.
It really is, but I feel for Goodliff, because if it were full dry conditions, it would be on to have a look around the outside in the first part of St Mary's, to have a look around the outside perhaps at Woodcote, as he might do in just a few seconds from now. But remember, the outside after the biblical weather that we had this morning is still going to be horrible. I don't know if the grip is there to take an outside lunge.
There's a lovely battle as well going on at the back of the field with Gregor Marshall fending off his dad's Dolomite Sprint, which is quite something for him. Right, Simon Goodliff's going to have another go. Both the cars on the limit, drifting beautifully through Woodcote. You can see that in Simon's efforts, he's not the indicator on a lap or two back, comes out of the chicane now, but Rupert Deep still hangs on to the place then. And actually, they're not quite nose to tail, are they? He does have good run coming out of the chicane there.
Well, it's all about the corner speed. You know, the Mini is able to carry better corner speed through the tight right-left of the chicane, and it gives it just enough of a cushion to stay ahead on the run-up to Madgwick.
Ollie Streak in the Metro is also on the attack. He's just got back ahead of Jason Minshaw. Goodliff dropping away here in replay. Again, with the smoke coming off that tyre as the car leans on the suspension and it hops and bounces. That's Rupert Deep's Mini.
That's good enough for us, but this looks more like a race as the rest of the field come through, and that just shows how fast Nick Swift was to get away from this gang of cars. Car 22 right in the thick of the mix there at the front of that queue. You don't want to be in a queue. In number 80 in the background, that's Andy Higgins sharing with Bill Solis. What doesn't Bill know about Mini racing? Nothing.
Well, yeah, exactly. Multiple Mini Miglia champion. Of course, that was on slick tyres with 1275cc carbon fibre frames and floors, but yeah, Bill Solis not only built his own cars but raced them hugely effectively, so he will be very worth watching. In 13th place at the moment, Jonathan Lewis from the Snetterton Speed Shop, another former Mini racer in period, well, certainly in the 80s and 90s and early noughties, shares with Le Mans winner Eric Ellery. Jonathan Lewis has got a couple of cars in the race, running that one on his own. But look at some of the names. You've got Andy Jordan, you've got Matt Neal, whose father Steve Neal in period in the 1960s was one of the absolute fastest Mini racers on the planet. Chris Goodwin, Ian Curley, another former Mini champion, sharing with Neil Jarney, Alex Brundle, Dickie Meaden, the motoring journalist and racer, Rob Huff, the World Touring Car champion, Chris Buncombe, Shandok, Sir Chris Hoy, Eric Ellery, Andy Brio, Emanuele Pirro.
Just do the top half of the field, Martin.
We'll cut it down to Le Mans winners, and that will only give us a dozen or so to talk about.
And what we saw before, we saw Brian Johnson, ACDC frontman, having a go, or preparing for having a go, but he said that he last raced one 9 years ago. He's never raced one here before. Get those excuses in, Brian. But the quality at the front end of this field, this is going to be manic, and there are some drivers in this field, including Jean-Eric Verne, who's never raced here before. Yeah. He's never raced a Mini before. That is going to be a baptism.
Well, his co-driver Endap Owens certainly knows plenty about Mini racing, so he will be able to give Jev everything he needs to know. And essentially, as Brian Johnson was told, if in doubt, don't lift. Trust the car. It is dragged around by the front wheels. Get the front wheels going in the right direction. The rear will follow. It might be a little wayward. All these cars are running a pretty firm rear anti-roll bar to get that rotation. You've got to just preserve the front tyre as much as you can. The 1960s of lifting the inside front and smoking the tyre, these cars don't do that. A firm rear anti-roll bar is what you need. Get the back sliding, just follow the front.
Right, it's worth pointing out the race when we come to it is 45-minute, 2-driver race. So the driver who takes over the second half of the race ain't going to have a lot of rubber left to play with.
Yeah.
That may be discussed between the drivers and it may not, but it certainly will be a factor. And I'd put the driver who is better on tired tyres, who has more Mini experience, to do the second leg of the race.
It'll be 44 minutes of staying in the lead pack and not losing a lap, and 1 lap to win the race. And as you said correctly, although possibly Nick Swift and Andy Jordan would argue, you don't want to be first on the first lap, not if there's anybody within streaming distance. And look at the way that the times are sending cars up and down the order. Absolutely, this is going to be just a bun fight, a massed bun fight of mini fiasco rather.
I think he benefited there, didn't he, from the fact that the first wall of the chicane, that first apex, has been nudged ever so slightly to the right as we've got contact. I think that's Orlando Lindsay, just as they come out of the chicane there. Did they get side by side, door handle to door handle, gathered it all up as they make their way up to Madgwick. Lindsay back on the inside now.
Yeah, that's with Gregor Marshall saying it's my dad's trophy race and I'm going to hang on to my place, but I think Orlando's gone through, but he's gone wide, and they've got the second place battle bearing down on them. Then Simon Goodliff in the Fiesta goes to the inside line, in the middle tries to go the Mini and Rupert Deeth, they're side by side for second. The Mini goes ahead. Which way does he go now? The gap narrows, but he has done it. He's gone back ahead of the Fiesta. So for second place, Rupert Deeth, really opportunistic stuff, that, very brave indeed. Used the traffic to his advantage. There were 2 cars that have gone off on the back straight as well. We just caught a glimpse in the background, but out of all of that, Rupert Deeth is back up into second position. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was luck as well as judgment for all of them, I think. You've got to feel for Goodliff getting really blocked there in the traffic, but nobody was doing anything wrong. I think the back markers were simply trying to mind their own business, but there were 2 abreast. They had nowhere to go. It was through the fastest section of the circuit as well.
Well, the checkered flag is imminent because we've got 10 seconds to go. Now, where is Jim Morris in the Mark 1 Golf out of all of this? He should be on his way down to Woodcote. But a great battle this has been for second place.
You've ever seen. On pole, Nick Swift in the centre of the front row. Is Gamanesh got a great tyre smoking start, gets away from the pole sitter, and Jeff Smith on the outside, the black Mini, all 30 cars away cleanly with 3 wide, 4 wide already. We will be 5 wide around the back, that is guaranteed. Swift hits the front by name and by nature. Second place is Jeff Smith in the black car that will be shared by Matt Neal. Third place, car number 20, a great start by Endaf Evans from the second row of the grid, I think. He'll share later with Jean-Eric Verne.
One car on the grass in the background, I think that was the Huff monster car with Nick Padmore. But what you'll see with these cars as they get down towards St Mary's, you can slipstream, you can tuck in so close behind. Nick Swift, if he can make a break, he's got to do it now. Off on the grass.
Another big grass tracking moment on the run from Ford Water. And Nick Swift with the multicoloured finger paint car in the lead. Jeff Smith in second place. We're going to have to get some side-on shots of this. The paint box for Minis is relatively restricted. There's half a dozen turquoise ones, 3 or 4 red ones, lots of grey ones. But our lead quartet, that's 46, that's Ian Curley. He'll share with Neil Jarney. Oh, and a great run down the inside. Is 3 wide for second. In the middle, 55, the black car of Jeff Smith has just been dive bombed. I'm sure that's Endaf Evans. Car number 20. Oh.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's the Huff Padmore car. So
Right,
the
so
first four, look
56.
at they're getting away, but they've got to get in the slipstream pack. Talk about the pack. The midfield is all together. 10 cars, nose to tail, even side by side, coming out of the chicane. But the good news, Nick Swift is not escaping at the front. But the car in second place started the middle of the front row. That's the Buncombe Edgecombe car.
No.
May get on the tail.
No, that's 21. That's now down to 6th or 7th. In fact, they're 9th at the end of lap 1.
So the data post car ahead of the ex-John Mowat car from the 1980, 79 and 80 Tri-Central British Saloon car seasons. Larry Warr up towards the timing line and he will go through now, but Steve Jones bit by bit getting himself into the mix. Now 15th at the moment, number 37 is Guy Stevens in Martin Overington's yellow Dolomite Sprint, the one we saw having its moment at the chicane. He's a long way clear of the 16th place car, which is Gregor Marshall, but it would be quite fitting if Gregor was the last qualifier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Stevens' little Dolomite there getting very, very loose out of the chicane. It almost looks like he was sort of steering left and right just to try to see. Oh, there's debris.
There is a bit of
That's
debris on the road,
what the slippery surface flag on the entry to the chicane would have been for earlier.
Now, this mini battle still rages on. This is for 10th place. Steve Jones versus Larry Warr as they come up towards lap corner this time.
On the fastest car in the bunch. I think that's a fantastic idea. Just get the kids to drive. There you go. And again, because the steering is pretty quick and pretty reactive, it doesn't feel like you're dialing in opposite lock. I mean, you can see that the hands are very, very much busier than mine would ever have been. But, you know, that is Nick Swift, isn't it? I don't...
Quick hands, as they call it.
No disrespect to Andy Jordan, but that is classic. We've all watched the onboards of Nick Swift. That is classic. And again, you know, the car just drives, and he's got it pointed in the right direction, and the back's moving, but it's not trying to drag the car off. The front is doing all the work. The back is just for decoration and to stop you ruining the exhaust, essentially.
It's all about carrying speed, isn't it? Plant the throttle, keep it there.
Look
the
at the
needle
Speedo.
almost off the end of the Speedo. Had to lift a little bit here because unfortunately he's got a slower car ahead of him turning into St Mary's. That was car number 26, red and white car, Ron Maiden and Brian Johnson. Not at the same time, one at a time please, ladies and gentlemen. One now into the dip out of St Mary's up to Lavin. If you think the circuit is flat, it is not. You use that gradient into the dip and then Lavin turning in, Martin.
Look at all the gear changes that he's not making. It's only a 4-speed straight cut jackknife gearbox. So he's in 4th all the way through. Once you get out into 4th gear on the front straight, halfway down the pit lane. Oh, I tell a lie, now he's in 4th, so St Mary's in 3rd. Speedo nearly round to full on the fuel gauge, which is at the bottom of the Speedo there.
It's a bit like Waddington's Formula 1. Look at those gauges. You've gone through that corner too fast, tyre wear 1. But now, how
Down
many
to
bites the
3rd.
cherry would you like through Woodcote?
But this is absolutely glorious. Tiny little bit of understeer there in the second element, down into second. And again, make the front do all the work. The rear is just really for decoration. No need to look in the mirrors. It's all about full focus. Pitch it in.
It's Andrew Jordan at the wheel, by the way.
Is
Just
it?
looking in the mirror. I don't know why we didn't notice that before. The Red Bull helmet there, and so they were one of the first cars to come into the pits. One I'm looking forward as we go through the second part of Madwick and then down towards Ford Water. Such a tricky corner. Listen. Ain't no lifting there.
No, can't lift in this. This is small capacity motorcycle racing, but with 4 wheels. It's exactly the same deal, and slipstreaming is going to be a massive part of this. And Andy Jordan not short in commitment, from rallycross to touring cars to historic racing. brake 3 times here, once obviously for the chicane, little dab to settle the car and down to third here, and then you hold third gear all the way from Ford Water through St Mary's until you get out of Levant, and then it's fourth gear down towards the final corner and the chicane after Woodcote. So it's a very limited process. You've only used first and second off the grid and in the pit stops, but the rest of the time it is foot welded to the firewall. And here comes Bill Solis, the former fireman from Kent, is chasing down Nick Swift. Nick Swift with the full-fat Swift Tune machine, but he is not lapping as quickly as he was at the start of the race, or as quickly still as Chris Middlehurst in third. And Bill Solis shows his nose, and that is going to slow them down. Middlehurst is going to close. So who of the co-drivers now gets the most time? Andy Jordan, Chris Goodwin, Roman Dumas, Matt Neal, Neil Jarney, Rob Huff. I mean, you know, who do you put in and who do you give as little time as possible to if you want to win this race? I mean, somebody's going to have to make some hard decisions, and soon.
It's going to be pulling straws, but the top 5 covered by about 3 seconds. And the first of the pit stoppers, car number 3, slam of the door. That doesn't look like a happy Overington David Brabham car.
David Brabham won't take over. Tina Cooper has come in to hand over to Anthony Reid, so they're in 26th position. So let's see how the Bruce Jones prediction is going to curse Anthony Reid.
I'm sorry, Anthony, so very, very sorry. But what I just saw on that last lap was that Bill Solis got close enough to set really fast sector times because he is now in the slipstream. But in fact, this time around at St Mary's, the gap has gone out again between first and second. But interestingly, the 104 Mini, after that amazing early progress in the hands of Chris Middlehurst, is not catching up now.
Now look at the leaderboard and look at some of the positions that are being made up. On the last lap, Nick Paddy got ahead of Endaf Owens. Michael Cullen made up 2 places to get ahead of Emanuele Pirro and Chris Lewis. Emanuele Pirro got ahead of Darren Turner. So there are positions being swapped left, right and centre. And don't forget, here at Goodwood, the positions are only updated at the start-finish line. So there are lots more position changes, as we see there. The lead changes. Bill Solis goes by Nick Swift for the lead. And Swift, is that a smile or a grimace? Well, it's always a sort of combination of the two. It's almost like Charlie Brown teeing up to kick the football.
You know what is so extraordinary, you look at how quickly the cars change angle as they go through the chicane. It's not just a lovely serpentine S, it's put it in, flick it the opposite way, stay off the curbs if at all possible. Now let's look at the rearview mirror. Is it Nick Swift smiling? No, he's working fully hard. You know how hard he's working. He's not gesticulating to the onboard camera, which is his normal one. This isn't a battle against a giant Galaxy or what we're used to in the St Mary's Trophy race. This is Mini on Mini on Mini. And now, of course, getting cars coming out of the pits after driver change, they could be a complication, but a great move by Bill Solis into the lead.
Yeah, that was the Tina Cooper Anthony Reid car just out of the pit lane, I think. And watch the rev counter, that's the gauge on the right-hand side. As he changes from third to fourth, it basically goes from 6.5 to 8, or 8 back down to 6.5. These things are revving much more than you would want to do with a standard road engine. They are built for speed, but an 8,000 RPM Cooper S engine is really producing the goods. But Bill Solis had such a good line through St Mary's. He gained a good 1/10 of a second, maybe a quarter of a second. Then he got traffic and lost it all over again. So Nick Smith saying, thank you very much. Now look, I'm closing. I'm into the slipstream. What's next? Woodcote. What happened to Woodcote? It goes right, then it goes right again. He has to go to the outside. He's only offered the outside. Look at the glass in the windows. It's not glass, it's plexiglass for weight. But look at it bowing out. The aerodynamics of this car are absolutely zero. Everything is a low pressure area. He's got the right driver's window open, sliding windows, because that means you don't need a mechanism, so that's lighter. And across the line, who's in the pits? Is the leader in? No, he's not. So Bill Solis continues. Nick Swift in second, Chris Middlehurst in third place. How much time have we used up? We've got 24 minutes remaining. No, now what's happened is just at the end of that lap, Middlehurst went back down to fourth. Don't remember, he went 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. Now he's going backwards. I think he's taken too much out of the tyres too soon. The lead battle, Solis against Swift, side by side, but offering the outside of Ford Water. I'll take it, because it eventually becomes the inside at St Mary's, if you can be brave enough and if you can get your Dunlop Racing tyres, the CR65s, to hang on. Bill Solis keeps his nose in front. Nick Swift in second. This is a battle of inches, and we still have half the race to go.
I might predict that Jeff Smith might be in the lead very, very soon indeed, with this lead battle getting very, very fruity. But it's just when you get this onboard footage, you can see how far Bill Solis travels across the track going through a corner. There's only a minimal amount of grip. You've got to find it, but you've got to work those tyres, get the heat into the tyres. He's going to come in if he's feeling a little tired. Chris Goodwin been waiting. He thought he'd be lucky to be in the top 10, and there is the car, number 80, leading the race. 104, Middlehurst back into fourth. Jeff Smith in the car he's sharing with Matt Neal up into third, but 2 by 2 they go down into Woodcote.
But that's, look, your lead quartet is now covered by under 2 seconds. In fact, right there by under 1 second. So they are closing up from behind on, well, originally Nick Swift and now Bill Solis.
Swift,
now,
I think, is going in. I saw his hand out the window. Doesn't want to be
Bill
clocked from
Solis with a
behind.
big moment. Is he coming into the pits? He is. Top 2 are, no, he's not.